In this episode, we are going to talk about the types of EBS volume that we have. Actually, there are two categories of EBS volume that we have. So we have the SSD backup volume, which is mostly used for high frequency transactional workload. Then we also have the HDD EBS volume backup, which is mostly used for high volume transactional workload. Now these two categories, they have babies under them. So in this, I'm going to talk about where they can be applied in the real life. So let's talk about the first category that we have, which is SSD backup volume. And you should know that all this kind of EBS volume, they are mostly used for smaller workload that involve read and write. So any application that involve read and write, so they mostly use this kind of EBS volume for their web server. So example of them is general purpose SSD. Now general purpose SSD is the kind of EBS volume that is mostly used for a website, maybe a WordPress website or a website that require read and write. Maybe somebody want to change something, or somebody want to edit something, somebody want to read through all those things. So this kind of website, mostly they use this EBS volume for this kind of server. So in Amazon, we call them GP3. So GP3 is an example of general purpose EBS volume that is mostly used for a website that involves read and write only. So most especially the WordPress website and some other website like that doesn't require too much workload. The second one under this SSD volume is what we call provision IOPS. Provision IOPS can be IO1 or IO2. So these are the kind of EBS volume that are basically used for database. So they mostly use this kind of EBS volume for maybe SQL database or PostgreSQL database or any kind of database that involve read and write. They also use it for Oracle, and they use it for most database that handle concurrency transaction or concurrency work at a go. So this kind of EBS volume, they are mostly used in an application or website like banking website or banking application, trading app, or cryptocurrency website. So these are the kind of EBS volume that is usually attached to the web server of those platforms I've mentioned. And the reason this kind of EBS volume are attached to them is because this kind of EBS volume, they have the ability to act fast, to make the EC2 server to perform better, and to give them the required thing that they need on time without wasting much time. So they are mostly after high frequency. You understand? So they mostly use it when they notice that the particular platform they are trying to build required high performance. So they use this kind of EBS volume to do read and write. Now the second category of EBS volume that we have after SSD-backed volume, which is mostly used for high frequency, the second one is HDD-backed volume. Now this one, they are mostly used for fast transactional workload. So they are used when the workload is kind of much. So this kind of EBS volume, they are used when large amount of data is to be transferred or is to be moved within the application or within the system. The first one under this one is throughput optimized HDD, and we call it ST1. Now this one is mostly used in a log analytic website. So a website or an application that they want to be using to analyze log or to do different kind of data analytic. So the kind of EBS volume they are going to assign to that EC2 server is going to be ST1, which is throughput optimized HDD. So this one will actually work in such a way that whatever kind of data they want to analyze is going to make it very fast, make it very accessible on time for the machine, and it will make the analysis to be very, very fast and be able to deliver on time. And that is why they prefer using this for data analytic or log analysis. So it is mostly used to build data analytic engine and some other sophisticated analysis tools like that. Now the problem is that ST1 cannot actually store log data for a long period of time. It can only be used periodically to quickly analyze whatever they want to analyze, and after a while the log disappear. Now the second one is called SSD. We call it SC1. Now this SC1, this is a kind of EBS volume that is used for an archive system. They mostly use this kind of EBS volume for an old system, maybe a particular system or a particular application that want to capture the CCTV activities of a particular place over a long period of time, maybe for 5 months or 6 months, and it's going to store it. So they mostly use this kind of EBS volume for this kind of system, so that they can have record of different activities that has happened, maybe over the year or over 2 years or over 3 years. So this kind of EBS volume is what they actually use to build most of those old CCTV camera or any auditing log system that can actually keep record or data or log for a long period of time. So this EBS volume is very, very essential for those kind of operation. If you check my screen, you can actually see I'm going to list out the 4 EBS volume that we have listed under the 2 categories, the SSD back volume and the HDD-backed volume. So I'm going to list them one by one, and I'm going to also talk about their mass IOPS, which is input and output performance. I'm also going to talk about the mass throughput, then their primary strength, how powerful they are, and what they are best used for. So for GP3, as you can see on the screen, for GP3 now, so the mass IOP for GP3 is 16,000. So it means that the input and output performance for GP3 is 16,000. Then the mass throughput for GP3 is 1,000 megabytes per second. So it means that the amount of work it can do, you understand, amount of data it can process, you understand. So per second is 1,000 megabytes per second. And the price, you can see, and the strength of it is it has lower price and it has performance balance. And it is best used for what? For websites, most especially WordPress website or developer website. So any kind of website that involves read and write, we use GP3 for it. So if you want to host a website now and you want to use EC2 web server for it, so you can assign GP3 for that kind of EC2 web server that you want to launch, because GP3 is mostly used for read and write operation, and it's going to speed up the performance of your EC2 server. Now the second one is IO2. So IO2 is the second class under the SSD-backed volume. Now this one now, the mass IO is 256,000. That is the mass IO. While the max throughput is 4,000 megabytes per second. You can see that this one can process large amount of data per second, even than GP3. Then the strength that this one have ahead of others is that it has high durability and speed, can work very, very fast, even faster than GP3. Now they use this one mostly for critical database, and that is why banks prefer using this kind of EBS volume for their banking application, and they also use it for critical system. Now the third one, which is under HDD-backed volume. HDD-backed volume. So this one is ST1. So and this the mass up for this is 500, and the maximum throughput is 500 megabytes per second. You can see why the strength is that it has a sequential throughput. You understand? Meaning that it can work sequentially. You can run it for maybe 2 hours to analyze the data or to do log analysis or whatever things you want to do. You can use it. So that is the strength. Then it is best used for data analysis or log processing. So that is what they use this one for. Then the last one is SC1. SC1 mass IO is 250. You can see. So as it is 250, the mass throughput is 250 megabytes per second. 250 megabytes per second. And the advantage or the strength that it has ahead of others is that it has the lowest cost. It has what? It has the lowest cost, and it is mostly used as a backup or archiver for most application or legacy system. So most of those old system or a system that require long backup, they use SC1 for it. So that's that about types of EBS volume that we have. So see you in my next video.